What you see in this gallery is an introduction to water and cosmos, the relationship of water to the Maya worldview. One of the functions of this gallery is to start identifying what water looked like to the Maya, and the other function is to recognize how the Maya viewed the structure of the world. And at its core, one of the most basic elements is embodied in this pot from Tikal, where you see at the bottom a turtle. And at the beginning of Maya time, there was water. There was no land, there was just water. And a turtle arose in that water, and the surface of the turtle's back, when it broke the surface of the water, that became the terrestrial surface of the earth, out of which emerged all terrestrial life, including this water bird who is protruding up. So in this gallery we have creatures of the fiery pool. These are representations of the various animals that the Maya knew existed, that they represented in various forms, many of them with extreme sort of species-specific detail, but many of them also with embellishments and interpretive elements that show that the Maya clearly imbued these creatures with various traits, with supernatural powers, and sometimes the actual embodiment of ancestors and spirits. At this end of the gallery, where the fish are, a wonderful lobster creature, and if you walk all the way around it, this is actually from historic times. This was excavated above the platform of a Spanish church and dates from about 1550. So our time frame runs at least from 300 to 600 BC, and this is 550 AD, so we're talking about more than 2,000 years of Maya art. And if you walk around that side, you'll see there's actually the face, someone, a deity, an ancestor, emerging from the mouth. In the early times of the show, we had really conceived of a section that talked about Maya trade. And over the course of time, we realized that Maya trade had great symbolic significance, and it fit well into the view of the cosmology of the Maya and how they observed the world and their perspective on seafaring and how that fit in to their vision of the structure of the universe. And so what we see in the next three spaces, this gallery, this theme runs through three small galleries. You'll see representations of canoes. You'll see objects that were traded over the sea. So in this gallery, we have, in that gallery you saw some representations of boats, more of them in here as well. Objects from the sea, such as this carving of the head of a deity, which is the single largest known carving in jade from the Maya world, at just under 10 pounds. It was found at the site of Altunha in Belize, very close to the coast, an area that would have been related to the trade in jade, because jade would have come up from Guatemala and the Central American coast and brought up the east coast of Yucatan and into the rivers and brought into the Maya cities via canoe in that fashion. The color of jade clearly evoked the sea as well. And this is the head of a deity who likely would have emerged from the sea in the morning. The whole cyclical notion of life coming to the Maya as water came to the Maya from the sea, Caribbean in the east, every morning to ride overhead, to deliver rain and to observe Maya life, and to set in the west. The final gallery in the show contains 4 sections. In this area we call it this birth to rebirth. And here we have activated the cycle, the cyclical view of Maya life and of Maya time. So at that end of the gallery we have representations of the birth portion of that cycle. And the Palenque censer is a fantastic example of that. The central face at the bottom is of the sun god. And you will note this tongue-like, pointy element that protrudes from his mouth. It looks like a tongue, but it is a stingray. It is a shark's tooth. And He has large shell ears, or earrings, that he's wearing. And there are other facets. If you look closely at the sides of his temples, there are representations of the watery domain in which he emerges every morning. He has just risen from the Eastern Sea. He actually there's a shark on top of his head. There are other elements that you would note, and also a crocodile actually emerging from above the shark's snout. In the life section, I guess, of all the elements, of all the objects, I would point out one of the great masterworks of Maya art in the center wall there is a lintel from Yaxchilan, which shows a woman who has performed the bloodletting ritual that Steve alluded to, which plays centrally in this portion of the story, in order to conjure the deity, which you see emerging from that serpent's mouth. So she has performed the bloodletting ritual, which employs stingray spines, which you'll see in the case to the left, in which she has bled onto a piece of bark paper in the bowl at the base, burned that paper. From the smoke that has risen up, she has effectively conjured this water serpent that has arisen from the underworld, and the deity or ancestor who she was conjuring has emerged. So through this ritual, she is able to commune directly with that spirit. And so from the life portion, this is feeding the ancestors. This is the daily ritual that ensures these cycles. The next phase of the cycle is death. And one of the most interesting components of this story is the sacred cenote at Chichen Itza, which is a large sinkhole that the Maya perceived to be a portal directly into the underworld. And in many ways, it truly is, because it connects directly to the underground river system in the limestone topography. And the Maya, for quite a long time, venerated their underworld deities by making sacrifices into that hole. And that was sacrifices of people, but it was also objects of great value, important power that were thrown into that hole. And so things that have come out of the cenote are of great interest and significance. There was a gold disc that we walked by. I didn't talk about, but we'd be happy to a little later on. We have these gold eye goggles and mouthpiece that must have come off of a shield or a leather or wooden fabric piece.
You may have addressed this, both of you, before, but how did you know about these, and how did you find them? Are these just kind of, I mean, obviously there are some that are masterworks and people have seen them and know about them, but how did you find this stuff?
Connections. No, we monitor closely what's coming out of the ground, and even if objects have not been fully published, we are aware of what has been usually discovered. Some of these have actually been have never really been seen before out of museum storerooms, and one of our goals here was to combine some well-known masterworks, such as the lintel from Yaxchilan that you see in the background, which is one of the great objects in Maya art, with, right beside it, an object that's been seen probably by a couple of dozen people.